So there's a stat, I don't know if you guys are aware, but only 6% of South Africans retire comfortably. Only 6%. So in a room of 100 people, only 6 people will be comfortable in retirement. And that's a reflection not only of the socio-economic challenges that we faced in the past, but the culture that continues to permeate.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
No.
Am I
Yeah.
good? Are we in the morning or in the afternoon?
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ziwe Lufefe. I am a financial advisor with Liberty under the Standard Bank Group, and I am very honored to be here. The arts have a very special place in my heart. Both my parents are artists, so I've seen the ins and outs of the industries, I've seen the joys, and I've seen the pains as well. And what I'm particularly passionate about is equipping artists and people within the industry with the knowledge that is required for them to survive, thrive, and excel in the direction where they need to go. So South Africa is a place that's very rich in terms of culture. We have 12 official languages now, if I'm not mistaken. 12 official languages and multiple variations of culture, but there's a certain culture that we have that I'm not too happy about, and that's our savings culture. It's something that we sometimes struggle to do, especially in the art section or segment, because we don't have as much consistency of income, if we can say. So there's a stat, I don't know if you guys are aware, but only 6% of South Africans retire comfortably. Only 6%. So in a room of 100 people, only 6 people will be comfortable in retirement. And that's a reflection not only of the socio-economic challenges that we faced in the past, but the culture that continues to permeate. So the main thing that I wanted to touch on was enacting a cultural shift in the context of individuals as well as the arts. So what does that look like? I myself am also a bit of an artist, so I make music here and there. I might spit some bars for you afterwards if you have time. But one thing that I've noticed, as the panelists have mentioned, is that there's a stream of income that you have that will sustain your work. And for me, this job that I have is one of my passions as well. I'm passionate about bringing financial advice to people, but it's also the facility that funds my ventures as well. I recently had a performance at the Market Theatre last year, and it was the capital that I had accrued and saved that actually went to fund that. So what I would encourage you to do is start building the culture of saving in your personal capacity now. Because the big thing that we've seen with a lot of celebrities is they make it big and then they lose it big. They either owe SARS money or they blow it. And I think the ultimate thing that saving now and starting to build the culture within yourself of saving will allow you to do is, it will allow you to look at a large sum of money, a significant amount of money, and not use it. And that restraint is something that is extremely important within our industry, because there are months where you'll make a lot of money and you'll be like, yo, this money is crazy. But then there's other months where it may be dry, it may be quiet. So responsible stewardship during those few months will enable you and equip you to survive and thrive during the dry season. So that looks like either opening up a savings account. My personal preference is a unit trust, because there's a lot of areas or portfolios where you can invest your money that allows it to grow and combat the power of inflation. And another big thing that I would really recommend is start saving for retirement as well. The primary reason, number one, so that you can be in that 6%, and so that 6% can grow from 6% to 96% instead. But another big element is the tax benefit that comes with saving for retirement. It's about 27.5% of your earnings that can go towards retirement funding that you can claim back from SARS. I mean, I don't know if anybody here doesn't want to get money back from SARS, but I know that I do. So that's just a few of the elements that I think are important, and then if you have any questions throughout the process, you can let me know. My name is Ziwe, just so you know. Next to the question, Ziwe.
Morning, everyone. How are you? Good, thank you. My name is Pro Kumalo, and I am a jazz recording artist and performing artist. And my question is directed to Ziwe. You mentioned financial rapport. So my question is, what, in an artistic perspective for artists, what are the kind of financial habits that would make us look good for a potential funder, a potential financier? What do you think they would look for in terms of an artist's perspective, considering, like you said, the inconsistencies in how we get our money and so forth? So what are some of the habits that we need to develop in that regard? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Pearl. It's a very good one. So I'll preface my answer by saying that the area of financial planning in which I fall is more centered around how the individual manages their money, and not necessarily connecting you with financiers. But I will speak to your question a little bit more. The one thing that I've noticed from my experience with dealing with artists as well, which I've dealt with and being raised by them, as I mentioned earlier, is the fact that, number one, income is very inconsistent. It's you get a lot, you get a little. The first and most important habit that I think we should all have as artists, as people who aren't artists as well, is budgeting. Because even when you have to run your own show, even when you have gotten those funds from the financiers, you have to be able to manage those funds in a manner that will allow them to stretch and be utilized until the end of the production comes into place. So you cannot change the world if you do not have your own house in order. So I think the biggest, first and most important step that we need to really focus on is having a budget and understanding exactly what our expenses are, where our money goes, and incorporating within that budget as well an element of saving, which I've mentioned previously as well. The recommendation, most of us are students. I'm also in the process of being a student next year, doing my postgrad. So a big thing that I recommend, we're very young, I'm also quite young myself. An important thing to do is to start saving for retirement early. The earlier you start, the less you have to save. I was actually doing a bit of an exercise for myself as well. September is the time when I review my personal financial plan as well, like holistically, and take the time. And I saw that if I put in, I'll just give you an example, if I save about 4 grand a month for retirement, then by the time I reach 60, the projected income that I'm going to have is about 40, 50,000, let's say. But if I start 10 years down the line, if I start 15 years down the line, that 4 grand that you would need to invest will go to 10 grand, to 15 grand. So it's always good to start earlier. It's a significant role. The power of compounding is your friend. And that's the first element: budgeting, saving, investing. And there is actually a difference between saving and investing. So investing is when you put money towards your capital growing, and saving is having an amount of money on hand should anything happen. So those are the two differences. And then another element that I would say is quite important, as was mentioned by Olwetu and the gentleman up top, is consistency. So it's easy to have a diet for a week in the beginning of the year. The hard thing is keeping to it. And the best plan, the best diet is one that you can stick to. So figure out a plan, do research, look for people who have walked the path before you, getting a mentor. And I think those are habits that you can develop in your personal life that will then bleed into your business as well. I don't know if I answered your question sufficiently. Right. Cheers.
Investment vehicles for young artists.
I got it.
Concise.
Thank you. So, unit trust, endowments, tax-free savings. Those are the three biggest ones. Endowment, there's certain terms and conditions that have to be met, but the long and short of it is unit trusts, tax-free savings are a big one, and endowments and savings accounts, you know, under the bed can also be necessary sometimes.
Can I have a question for Ziwe? Right, you spoke of retirement fund, right? Now, yeah, my question is, does SARS tax your retirement fund? Because that's what I heard, you know, and it sort of made me skeptical about it's fine, right? From the retirement fund.
In this age of pots.
So it's going to be hard to make the pots to be done, as they say. It's going to be hard to be concise with that one because there's a lot of technical depth that I can go into. But what I will say is the retirement funds generally are not taxed until you retire. And the beauty of that is that your funds can grow without the hindrance of money being taken away from it, and that's beautiful. If you're going to be taxed at a rate of, let's say, 30%, then every year that 30% is being taken away from the growth, as well as your contributions, whatever. And in the end, but how can I say, in the context of retirement planning, if that 30% isn't being taken away, then it's growing and accruing, and the power compounding is perpetuating. And by the time you do retire, the tax rates are quite good. Please don't access your two-pot unless you're desperately in need, just as a disclaimer. But by the time you reach retirement, the tax rate for retirees are significantly less than for people who are our age. So you do get taxed less, and also you get to get your lump sum, 550 right now, tax-free, but by that point it'll probably be significantly higher. So yes, you do get taxed, but it is a very, very, very good and tax-efficient option for you. Don't let the noise sort of scare you. Do research and make responsible financial decisions. Get in touch with a financial advisor who can speak to you in depth about that.
I mean, after all, we don't take out the big pots unless it's a funeral,
100%.
a wedding, and a very exceptional situation. So leave the pots alone. All right. Give them a round of applause.